Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome. We are so glad that you are here. You have found yourself in between the before and the after. This is the interlude, and we are so happy that you are here today. We are going to be talking about the things that Pastor Jeff was talking about this morning, how we are to plant seeds, and this building and campus is a launching pad for such events. So I'm going to invite a special guest in here today, and we have today Mr. Frank Heldt. Frank, good morning.
Good morning, Chris.
So
Good
happy
to be here
so,
this morning.
So glad you're here this morning.
Great sermon this morning.
It was a great sermon. Really, launching pad for ministry starts right here at 6300 East Bell Road. So, you have been a long time member of this church, well before it was this campus. So, tell us a little bit of your history here and what your involvement is.
All right. My wife Pat and I began attending La Casa de Cristo when we were still at Desert Shadows, the middle school, in the music room.
Wow.
So that's 48 years ago. So we've been members of the congregation a long time and been involved in a number of the things of moving forward. Typically, I was involved in most of the building campaigns. So it's been exciting throughout that, both the old campus on Thunderbird and then moving up here to what we call the new campus, even though parts of this campus are now almost 30 years old.
Almost 30, yeah.
Yeah, so it's been quite a journey, and it's been a wonderful journey, and Christ has led us through this all the way, and it's been terrific.
Oh, thanks be to God. So the church started in a school, and then we moved to a Thunderbird location, which is just down the road a little bit.
Correct. Yeah, I think 62nd Street and Thunderbird, I think, is where we were. And very much like this campus, we started with a multi-purpose building and with a kitchen, small worship area, and some classrooms, and we built upon that. And then we ended up buying, I think, 5 or 6 houses in the adjoining cul-de-sac to hold our classrooms and offices and things like that.
Oh, my goodness.
And what's been consistent about La Casa de Cristo is we've never stood still. And when that became full, we had to look elsewhere because the ministry wasn't going to stop there. It had to move forward. So we found the property on Bell Road and we purchased this property. And what we have today is what we see as a result of all that forward thinking back then.
And it's great forward thinking. So we started here with the multi-purpose room, which is now we call the Sanctinasium. We hold all our contemporary worship services there, our Wednesday night dinners, all sorts of great things happen there.
Correct. And that with that first campus, the first unit was the Sanctinasium, as we called it then, now the gathering place. But it was a gymnasium, it was our worship center, and it was our fellowship hall. All in one, it worked great. And we built the other classrooms, we built the sanctuary, and then finally the fellowship hall and the other classrooms over there. And it's there's been one thing consistent about this, Chris, everything that we've done. Each time we built something, we weren't making what we had better. We were always looking forward, moving forward. Never let the ministry sit still. We always look forward.
Somewhat fulfilling our mission statement to love those who don't know Jesus and to grow those who do.
Exactly, Chris.
So we're actually we just passed the 20-year mark here of the sanctuary being built, April 13th, 2003, I believe.
I think that's true. Yes.
I believe that was a Palm Sunday. I looked back on the records.
Your memory is better than mine, and/or your record keeping is better than mine. But I think
let's stay with the record keeping.
But I think that is true. Yeah.
So it's a beautiful sanctuary, and it started with people and being Christ-centered, as Pastor Ruby we said today in his sermon. We talked a little bit about the building fund and pledging this weekend. I just would like people to know and understand what the difference is between the building fund. We have 2 different funds here, the building fund and the ministry fund. Maybe you can explain a little bit what those are.
Chris, thank you for asking that question, because if I were a new member, I'd wonder,
exactly.
What is the building fund? What are we going to build? Where's it going to go on this campus? Why is there a building fund? Well, the ministry fund, or the program fund as we call it, pretty much speaks to itself. Everything in mission and ministry goes through the ministry fund, but everything else goes through the building fund. And so whether it's maintaining these buildings, of course, paying our mortgage off, utilities, Sal Ordonez and his crew and everything that they do here. But the one thing about the building fund, and we really have struggled sometime with the Board of Trustees about maybe we should change that name because we're really not planning on building anything for a while. But we're always building on the ministry. We're always looking forward. Every time we've done something, build a new building or something, is because something new and exciting was going to happen. And so I think the building fund, when properly thought about, we're building the future. And we're really so fortunate here with Pastor Matt and Pastor Jeff. They're seeing things and changing the ministry of this church so much and how it gets to people so differently that what we're building 5 years from now, I can't imagine what it'll be, but I'm excited about what it will be.
The future always looks bright here. The great thing about this church is that there is always people are looking forward, and the friendliness of this campus and these people that come here. So, my next question is: we're asking people to pledge this weekend to the building fund. Why is that important that we have a pledge each year?
The pledge is very important because, like any other enterprise, the church needs to build a budget. We need to understand where our sources of revenue offerings are coming from and how it will be spent. And so we have to have an organization and we have to have a plan for that money. And pledging really helps us with that. I mean, we have some historical information that gives us an idea what will be pledged and what will not. But the pledge really is the basis on which we build all these future dreams on and we move forward with.
So him saying that launching us, this campus is launching us into the future and into the ministries is very important for this pledge and all sorts of other purposes.
That was really well said by Jeff this morning.
It certainly was.
It's really true because even though this campus is beautiful and it's wonderful and I've been so blessed with all the people that we've worked with on all the building campaigns, but it really is, it's just a foundation on everything moving forward.
Amen. Well said. Tell us a little bit about you were involved in actually designing the whole campus. So just kind of stepping back a little bit, let's just talk about the sanctuary and how beautiful it is. The pipe organ to just the architecture in here. What went into planning that and getting this building off the ground?
Well, a lot went into that.
I'm sure.
First dealing with the architects, and actually the congregation got together. We talked about it, what our needs were. We always start with what our needs truly are. So that determined the size and what function. It was one thing about Pastor Garman. He was so good at giving input on how things worked and how the function should work. So that was good information, not just for the building committee, but certainly for the architect to get it properly designed. And this is such a beautiful building.
Oh, it is.
And I love the stained glass in this building.
Oh.
It so represents who we are and what we are, whether it's looking at Martin Luther, Jesus Christ, or Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John over there. I mean, you're really surrounded by the history and the basis of what the church is within the stained glass. So it's really fun. And then I have to mention one person.
Okay, go for it.
I'm going to mention one person throughout all the building back on the other campus and this campus, and even with La Sagrada, because when we're building now, we have built La Sagrada here in town,
right,
but in Mexico, in South Africa. So the building that La Casa does isn't just these buildings. But the one person I really want to mention is Heidi Urbeck.
Okay.
When you look throughout this campus, why everything fits together so well. Anything that has to do with the tile, the coloring, the bathrooms, the carpeting, everything.
All those little details.
Things,
yeah.
all those details. Heidi Durbeck.
Oh,
so if you
goodness.
have a chance to thank someone, thank Heidi.
When you see her walking on the campus, shake her hand.
Absolutely, say hi to Heidi.
Going back to the stained glass, each one of them has got a little story and history and meaning to it that we try to highlight each month. And then I'm going to do a little plug for our Cristo Connection newsletter.
Good for you.
Okay, because we highlight to what each piece of glass is, and we try to do it for the season. So it really is a beautiful campus. And let's just talk about the font. The font is right in the middle of the sanctuary. Can you explain why that's in the middle of the sanctuary?
Thanks, Chris.
Yeah.
And I would have liked to have mentioned that. So
okay,
thank you for bringing that up. The font is right there in the beginning because I think theologically it's correct. Typically you'll see the baptismal font up on the altar of the chancel area. You enter the church through baptism. So it seemed to us in building this that you enter the church past the font where baptism is. How you enter the church physically is how you enter the church spiritually. So there's a combination there and there's a connection there. So I think it fits exactly where
it's
it is.
Great symbolism for us into the church. It's wonderful. Well, Frank, thank you so much for being here. I think we've really shed some light on the difference between building fund and the history of the campus, and I'd like to talk to you more about it. Maybe we'll sit down some other time and discuss.
I'd love to do that. That's right. And that is the one thing about the building fund is we are building the future of this congregation and the future of the ministry.
Amen. Amen. Right. Well, thank you so much for being here, and we thank you all for joining us here on the Interlude. If you'd like to catch a recording of this, we also have posted on our website as well as our mobile and TV app. apps and our YouTube channel. So feel free to go check out those later on today. And with that, we say thank you and God bless you all.